All right, everyone, welcome back to another Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes video with Fat Phil, and we have a really good episode today. I'm in a really good mood. So I want to talk about some, I don't know if it's news necessarily, but some really big changes that have happened in Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes and kind of the impact that it's having on the player base as a whole and the future of this game. So I need you guys to like and subscribe, comment down below. Let me know your thoughts. I love hearing from you guys. I love seeing your opinions. So I very much appreciate you. Again, to the channel members, thank you guys so much for continuing to put your faith in me to bring you good content to this game. I hope I not only improve your Galaxy of Heroes experience, but that I'm also making you a better player. That is the whole goal of this channel, is to help give you the advice that you need to be the best Galaxy of Heroes player possible. So what we want to cover here is, again, kind of this change with the marquee structure and with Boss Nass. If you guys remember, he had that marquee event that every single day you could come back and collect additional rewards. And they said, hey, we're trying this out with these marquees. We're trying to see if it, works for us. And I want to say that it was a resounding success, right? I think it was awesome. I loved that whole idea. While I don't think that it gave out amazing rewards, I still think that it gave out some pretty good rewards overall. And the thing is, it's more than we were getting before. So, it's not like they took something away from us. Like, they're just giving us some additional stuff. I think it was great. And I want to show you guys just how good it really was. So, when we go here, we're on StarWarsGalaxyofHeroes.gg. And when you look at the STAP here, the STAP, there's only 244 relic STAPs in Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes at the time of recording, which is about a month older than Boss Nass. Whereas for Boss Nass, there are 1,000 relic Boss Nass in Galaxy of Heroes right now. So there's probably going to be more of each of them at 7-star, but you figure, just based off the relic data alone, there are 5 times as many, or about 4 times as many Boss Nass at relics as there are STAPs. That is huge. Like, that is, from a revenue perspective, that is crazy. Just to put that in perspective for you guys of what we normally say when we talk about a character, that, and let me go here to, let me just go to Google, go here. I'm just going to create a quick Google sheet to show you guys this. I don't need a to-do list. I just want a blank worksheet. So, the STAP, right? So, there's 244 relics. Right, and then Boss Nass. There's 1,000, 2. So we normally say that it's about $300 for a character to get to 7-star day one, give or take, right? Give or take $300, and then you can add on even gear on top of that. So let's say gear, relics, and we're gonna call that another 100, just for the sake of argument, right? I don't know. We're gonna call it. You know what? We're not even gonna include the gear and relics. We're just gonna say the price is $300, right? So total, money, total revenue, if you take that 244 and you multiply that by the 300 there, you get 73,000, right? That's okay. Well, what happens when you do this? Bring this over here. Look at the difference in revenue between the STAP and Boss Nass if you just take into consideration a $300 price point for that new character. I mean, guys, that is awesome news for this game. And even if it's $200, right? Even if it's $200, say $300, you think 300 is too high, you're still looking at an insane jump up in revenue. This is awesome news for Galaxy of Heroes, because I felt when I saw the STAP numbers, I was really scared, because that to me said that players aren't seeing value in that, and that could be a bad sign for this game. So Boss Nass coming in with those additional rewards really increased the amount of money players were willing to spend on him. And I think that's only going to continue, because I'm sure there's some guys who looked at Boss Nass and said, yeah, you know what? I can wait around. He's going to be the first Gungan. I need 4 more of these guys to get to Jar Jar. I'm going to save my money and wail on those guys. But this is a really good sign for the game. This is proof. In the STAP, just from a pure perspective of right now, the STAP has more uses than Boss Nass, because the STAP actually has teams that it can slot into. Boss Nass does not. So I think this is awesome. This is really good. Just look at that. And again, I think it really is a $300 price point for those new characters. If you factor in everything, I mean, that is an insane, that is $230,000 difference between the STAP and Boss Nass. That's a resounding success. Capital Games, like, if that's really what it is, hats off to you guys, because I think this was a great change, and obviously the player base thought so as well. Now, going back to the Relic player data, one thing we did get news of is that Bo-Katan Mandalore is coming back. That was in the data mine. So, just looking at the Relic data here, you've got about 4,600 Grogu at Relics and 4,700 Keller and Beck. So, you figure somewhere in the range of about 4,000 Keller and Beck coming in, give or take. I don't know that for certain, but somewhere in that range, right? And what I'm kind of looking at from the perspective of a content creator is that if the new system for these like journey guide characters, if it's just epic confrontation, like I'd be curious how Jar Jar gets handled. But if it's every single month, I think that's awesome, because I think there's going to be a lot of players who will be willing to spend a little bit more money when you can quantify how long it's going to take you to get that character. Like with Jedi Knight Cal Kestis, we still don't have word of when he's coming back again. And now there's bonus, you know, the event calendars and stuff kind of are Jedi Knight Cal themed, so we could assume that he's coming soon. But we don't know. And if with this Bo-Katan, if they're like, hey, every single month this is going to happen, I think it will incentivize more spending. Because look at capital ships. Look at Galactic Legends. Where like Galactic Legends, once they're farmable, like day one, they're there for forever. So they drive spending because a player knows exactly when they can unlock that character. Same with the ships. You know, hey, Executor comes around tomorrow and I'm still 20 impulse detectors short. Oh, I could buy $50 worth of crystals or something. Like that's kind of the thought process that Capital Games does with these events that come around all the time, is that you can quantify how long it's going to be and that you're going to miss out. So with the Bo-Katan event, I'm perfectly okay with that. I just want some confirmation of what is this only for her? Is this going to be Jar Jar? What's the situation with Cal? Because I do think they need to communicate that. Even if they don't change it, I'm okay. Just communicate it. It's all I'm asking. But I do think it's good for the game to continue to bring her back on a more regular basis, because I think it will drive more spending. There'll be the players who will say, oh, well, I'm not going to, spend on her. But think about it from the perspective that she's got a really good Datacron right now. You're telling me that people aren't going to spend a little bit more money this month to get an extra month of Datacron usage out of her? Like, players will absolutely do that. So I think this is really good. Again, another solid move from Capital Games, in my opinion. And I think those are really, really good changes for this game moving forward, because I've long believed that one of the biggest problems they've had is that some of the price points in this game are just so ridiculous. Like some of these in here, it's just so ridiculous. And then it's like ridiculous on both ends. Either I think it's absolutely absurd value. Like I think $30 for all this stuff is absurd. And then I also think that $10 for all of this stuff is absurd. So like they're absurd at both ends of the spectrum. But again, I think it's good. They're trying to say, hey, you know what? We're going to give you some decent value stuff for a low price point, and it's going to drive a lot of people to spend a little bit of money, which is good. And I think what they're trying, if I had to say the one thing they're trying is, hey, spending $20 will actually net you some really good progress in Galaxy of Heroes, where before it was often the case that if you weren't spending hundreds of dollars, you weren't making any significant progress to your account, and you're better off just being free to play. So I very much am on board with these changes, and I think they're really, really big. Like that Marquee change was huge. I was waiting to cover it because I wanted to see that data from how many characters have Boss Nass at Relics, and even like myself, just to put it a little bit in perspective. Like I already took Boss Nass. I think I took him to Gear 8 here through some abilities, some mods. But what I think this is going to drive as well is that those guys in my kind of range. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I was sitting there looking at these gamble packs, thinking to myself, man, is it worth it for me to spend these crystals for Boss Nass? And for Boss Nass, I was not sure I was going to do that. But for some of these future Gungans, I could 100% see myself taking a risk on these with my bonus crystals, because I'm going to have a lot less time to farm them. So any additional shards that Capital Games is willing to give me, I'm going to go all in for. So I just wanted to bring that up, guys. Some really good things that happened in Galaxy of Heroes. I know there's some negative stuff, but I don't think the positive gets enough credit. And this was great because if they're driving additional revenue in this game, and you think the Boss Nash change, if you're like, oh, that's not fair, they're just, giving the whales extra stuff. Like, good. They deserve that stuff. They're keeping this game afloat. And I think for those of you who spent, like, thank you. And I think it showed that they felt they were getting more bang for their buck by spending that money on Boss Nass, getting those rewards. And I hope that it continues, because there's no way they're going to stop if Boss Nass was that much more popular than the Stap. Especially because, again, let's just, leave you guys with this thought here. Again, like, just take a look at this, right? There are separatist characters for the Stap to be, like, General Grievous, here you go, right? Like, you are meant to lift General Grievous. Here you go. Here's your team. Whereas Boss Nass, literally the only gun in the game. And 4 times as many relics as the Stap. That is not a coincidence. I think a lot of that has to do, you could say, oh, well, it has to do with Jar Jar, and sure, but there's so much time to still farm Boss Nass. Like, he's not the Gungan that you rush. So, that's the end of the video, guys. Like, subscribe, comment. Let me know your thoughts. I love you all. May the Force be with you, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.